Hi, today is Saturday, May 18th, 2019, and welcome to my PCD Life. Today, I was in an all-day meeting, Pulmonary CRG, here in Dallas as kind of the precursor to ATS, and got to interview a couple of people that were in the meeting and people that I've worked with in the past, two of them on other projects. And so I will stop talking and you can listen to them and some of the research that they're doing and the projects they're working on. I'm here with Cara Pasquale with the COPD Foundation, and she was one of the organizers for today's Pulmonary CRG. So, Cara, can you tell us what that means?
Sure, no, happy to. So the Pulmonary CRG stands for Clinical Research Group. So the Pulmonary CRG, it's funded by PCORI, the Patient Centered Outcomes Research Institute, and the purpose is to get researchers from all different groups around the U.S. interested in the respiratory space, get them together in a room to discuss how to move different projects forward in their areas and challenges that they're facing, and also really focus on the patient perspective. One of the great things about this meeting is we actually have patient partners attend. So we don't claim to speak for patients, but we actually have them here directly with us, guiding us in our work. And so I think one of the things I'm most proud of with this meeting is that we really discuss what is actually important to patients. And so the different disease groups that the Pulmonary CRG currently represents are COPD, asthma, interstitial lung disease, and bronchiectasis. And so researchers from all those different areas come together once a year for these meetings to discuss how they're moving projects forward and discuss the different issues in their area and different ways that we can collaborate. One of the greatest things to come out of this meeting is that a lot of projects are actually born from the discussions, and so it's really important to get these people face to face and also interacting with patients in these different groups. So the Pulmonary CRG is run by the COPD Foundation, which is a patient advocacy organization, and also the PATH Network, which is one of the clinical research networks in PCORNet, which is a national representative group of different clinical research networks trying to spur research forward, but specifically patient-focused research on patient priorities and outcomes that are important to patients and their family members.
And I'm here with Emily Hinkle. She is a PhD in epidemiology, and she's at the Oregon Health and Science University. I've had the pleasure of working with Emily on a couple of projects. And so Emily, can you tell us a little bit about, well, what is epidemiology?
Right, so epidemiology is the study of population health, and so I'm interested in both risk factors for developing disease, but also ways to prevent disease and prevent progression and prevent negative health outcomes.
All right, and so your main areas of interest are bronchiectasis and NTM, non-tuberculosis mycobacterium.
Right, exactly.
So how did you become interested in those?
Well, so probably like many of us in this field, I took a job with someone who is a clinical expert in the non-tuberculous mycobacterial infections. And as part of working on that project, came to the understanding that there are a lot of underlying conditions that are associated with infections, one of the most important being bronchiectasis.
All right, and is there anything you think the patients would be interested in knowing? Maybe new areas of research that people are looking at, or anything else?
Right. Well, so one of the things that I'm very interested right now is a patient-reported outcome measure or patient-reported information, which is unfortunately an unexciting survey or questionnaire that patients fill out, but the idea being that patients themselves know how they're feeling, how they're functioning, and that this is something that's actually important to measure and track over time. And it can be useful both for designing clinical trials and finding new treatments that work, as well as for use in clinic, where physicians and patients interact, regularly and don't always communicate, and where visits may be rushed, and so having a way to capture how a patient is doing that is information for a physician is something that I'm interested in developing.
I had the pleasure of talking with Gretchen McCreary, and I've also had the pleasure of working with her with a couple of groups related to bronchiectasis and NTM. Gretchen works for the COPD Foundation, and Gretchen, you work with patients and getting patients involved in research. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I work with the COPD Patient Powered Research Network, the PPRN, and it is a registry of patients that we've tried to help facilitate patient-centered research.
And PPRN?
Patient Powered Research Network.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
As well as I also work with the bronchiectasis and NTM patients as well, dealing with our social site, Bronch and NTM 360 Social, but the research is more on the COPD side with the Patient Powered Research Network, that we try to bring patients and researchers together, have patients be a partner from the beginning of a research study through the end, to really bring to light for the researchers what is important to the patient. That it might not just be a cure, the end all be all, but it might be the quality of life and things that they deal with on a daily basis. And we have had patients who have changed not only, maybe not quite the full direction of a research study, but they have definitely gotten the researchers thinking in a different way, that they have changed the questions that they ask. They changed the materials that they use. So yeah, it's wonderful to see. And it has grown so much in the last 4.5 years since I have been with the foundation.
Right, well, thank you, and thank you for everything you do, because from a patient, it's actually been really enlightening being involved in some of these studies.
Yeah.
And it's also been great that people are actually listening to the
Right.
patients.
Well, and that's why it's so important for patients to participate in research, not just, it's not all test tubes or taking a medication, but it is lending your voice. That is the value.
Tomorrow I start going to some of the ATS meetings and working at the PCD booth, hopefully interviewing a few other doctors and some of the other patient groups near the PCD booth, and kind of giving you a little taste of what it's like inside the expo hall. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of My PCD Life.